Okay, so we're good now. So do you guys want to start with chapter 3?
Yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
Did anybody find anything interesting?
I thought the 5 tiers that they talked about um, helped explain like the different levels um, that we had to go through. I think.
Mhm.
Like the accountability level, the clarity
Yeah.
level. Okay.
Sorry, I have it summarized, but I don't know why. Like, I don't have like a reason why it was up there.
It's all good. I kind of like the part, if I can find it in my notes. It talked about like just getting specific with the program's goals and then the objectives. And so, like, goals are just kind of one step to having a more, like, let me read it. It says, goals are one step more specific than vision, and they express general purposes for specific programs. And then just having, like, your objectives clearly tied to your goals, and then make sure it's, like, specific enough that you can actually measure it.
Mhm.
Yeah, because it makes you have a purpose of why you're doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's important to have like a vision at the beginning of what you want to accomplish and then create goals from that because there could be, like there could be 5 people involved and they could all have a different vision and then you won't have the same goals and you won't be working towards the same outcome. So I think it's important to all talk about it and make sure that you're all on the same page before you create your goals because I can see how that could cause confusion. And I think a lot of times, like working with other people, it might not be your first choice to go with their idea. You might like your idea better, but theirs could be beneficial too. So I think you have to kind of give and take.
Yeah, I think being open-minded, like, yeah, you definitely want to have one common goal that you're all working towards. But yeah, coming up with that, you want to be open-minded about what other people have to say.
And I think as family life educators, we all have the same vision. I feel like that we want to be helping people and we want to better their lives. And so I feel like as long as we remember that vision and that goal, then all other visions and goals for the program or the lesson can stem out of those or out of that main premise that we want to be helping people. And it's not just making sure that we're meeting certain criteria or that we want to use this activity just to see if it works. We want to make sure that we're doing it because we want to be helping people.
I know in this section it talked a lot about like the evaluations kind of thing, or I mean, how to make it a good one and different stuff. And I just kind of thought it was interesting. They said like the golden standard of the evaluation is to have like a pre-test and a post-test. But I know with like I don't think at least with our like evaluations that are going to be given, we don't really have a pre-test and then a post-test. So do you think it's still going to be, I don't know, an effective evaluation?
I think in our case, like where it's not an actual program that has the same information to multiple people. It's focused on, one person and then each participant that information changes. I think it's not necessary to have a pre-test because I don't know really how helpful that would be just because what we're doing is more focused on the individual rather than a group of people that might um what's the word benefit from like the same knowledge. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So, like, as a family life educator, can we be in situations like we are now, or does it have to be in like a big group of people? Kind of like I feel like with this reading, it kind of talks more like you're in a group, like you're teaching a bigger group. Do you know what I mean? And so, can we do like this kind of situation, like as a family life educator, or no?
I don't know. I spent some time yesterday. Oh, go ahead. Did somebody say something? Anyway, I spent some time yesterday like looking at jobs that are available that I like if I was out there looking for a job right now what I could get and I didn't have very much success. And I don't know if it's because I was looking in the wrong areas, but I wonder how prevalent family life educators are right now, or if they kind of are filling multiple roles and not necessarily just teaching people.
Maybe.
I
Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't know. Maybe that's all.
I was just say, so yesterday I talked to a career advisor, and I was like, I have no idea where to look, really. So, and she told me a couple of ideas, but she kind of didn't help that much. But she recommended like going to an employment specialist or like some career place to look for marriage and family related jobs. So I contacted the employment specialist, so I don't actually know like how many jobs there are really. So, and I look online a lot recently, and it's kind of hard to figure out where you fit, I guess.
There was that one class that I want to say Brother Gardner taught it or something. I remember I took it online last winter, I think. I don't know, and it talks about all the careers you could have in this field. And I felt like there were so many of them, and it was like, okay, we had to like get online and find like a spot, an option that we could use with this major or whatever. But I don't know, I feel like we should get down to looking for real life and a job that's actually going to make more money. I don't know if there's that many options.
Oh, I do. She did say that this major is more like a springboard that it's benefits people who actually want to keep going, like get their master degree in something. That's why it's so vague, and it's not like a business major where okay, you gotta maybe work at this bank or that bank, but our major is not like that.
Yeah, I know there's like what, 3 different categories or I don't know emphasis you can have in the major, and one's like the professional something or other. I don't know where it kind of sets you up to go to graduate school. Because I'm like, okay, anything like counseling or that, you have to like, have your master's to do. But I'm not. Don't quote me on that.
I remember in one of my reflection summaries, she said on week 10 she's going to have an office hour where she talks about different career paths that you can take. And so I'm not sure if she's still doing that or whatnot. That's in a couple of weeks, but I would just look out for that and maybe just ask her some questions because she knows, hopefully. So
That's
I
good.
think, I just think ultimately, if we want to be successful or if we want to make more money, we're all probably going to have to go on and get masters, just to get a more specific field, I guess, in the future. But for most majors, you do have to go on and get a master's anyways.
Yeah, that's true. So, are we good with chapter 3? Should we move on to the professional ethics and practice one? I think that's kind of
Yeah, we can go on to the next one.
okay. So something I kind of found in here, I don't know, maybe I'm just taking this the wrong way. It said in like the very beginning, it was like the growth and the maturity of the field means that like the age of innocence is past and that like family life practitioners and stuff have to acknowledge all the harm that they can do. So I kind of took it as like, okay, when this first started out, you kind of could get away with a little bit more than you can now. But I don't know, did I misunderstand that or I don't know.
no,
Well,
I think you're right.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I think you're right that I think that like maybe when this first started because there wasn't like those boundaries that people had and maybe there wasn't a more specific code of ethics that maybe that could be true.
Did it say what year the ethics actually were initiated? Because I wrote down they had studied it since 1992, but I'm not sure when it was actually put in place.
I
I'm
don't
not sure.
know. I didn't see it somewhere. I could have missed it though. So something I kind of found was interesting, and I know when John talked about our ethics case thing last week, we kind of talked about how like some of the actual ethics, like the code, they kind of contradict with each other. And then I found in like in one of these, I hope it's this section. It's either this or the actual ethics one, where it talked about how they can conflict each other, and then like the rules could be seen as like there's like a hierarchy order, and like where the conflict is, like what it is needs to be resolved in the order that they are. But it just, I don't know, it kind of made me wonder, like, so I feel like there's still, you have these ethics, but there's still like this line you have to walk because there comes a point where sometimes you have to choose one over the other, but how do you know which one is better or which one has the higher up over others?
I don't think there's necessarily a definite answer for that. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I just think it's a case-by-case scenario, and whatever is going on with that person will determine whether or not you need to kind of like cross that boundary. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so for the example that we were given of the dad and his culture, how he wanted to stick to his traditional culture, but then so you're supposed to respect them and how they want to raise their family, but you're also supposed to look out for the best interest for the child. So how do you do both of those in that situation where you feel like you are fulfilling both of those principles, I guess.
What did you guys like? What would you guys have done in that situation with the father? Would you have just tried to more respect his cultural beliefs and upheld that in the classroom, or would you try to integrate your own, not your personal views, but I guess more of the norms that exist?
Well, I think it's important to try and come up with some sort of understanding between the educator and the father, and letting him understand, like, we're not teaching your son that he's going to be doing dishes and working in the kitchen the rest of his life. But so that I feel like there has to be that understanding, but there also has to be that respect for their culture as well. And so I think you just kind of have to find that balance. But I would just talk to the father and see, like, if some understanding could be reached.
Yeah, I think like a good way would be like to try and get him to understand that, yeah, you're not teaching him that doing dishes is what he's going to do, or what being in the kitchen. But I think just him experiencing that can later help him just be able to learn things, and just being able to open himself up to new ideas and new things, and like that's okay for a child to do, and that's actually going to help them grow and learn. But it's like, how do you tell the father that, not offend him, him being upset of like, what are you saying? I'm not open-minded enough, or so I don't know, kind of tough.
Yeah, I would talk to him for sure, and I would make sure that he knew, like, we weren't trying to force our culture on their son. We're just trying to teach him, and this is one way that he's learning and growing is by exploring his environment. I mean, he's only 4 years old, so that's kind of how they learn, is they just explore and they just kind of learn things on their own and continually develop through playing. So I would make sure that he understood we weren't trying to force our beliefs on his son.
Is there anything else from this chapter or section that you guys want to talk about, or should we go on?
I guess we can go on.
The next one, the Appendix E. All right.
Yeah.
So I kind of, I don't know what I can. I found it interesting that they said that there is a definite need for the standard, just because as a family life educator you can do. And I kind of tried to think about it like, okay, as I try to be helping the family as much as I could, but in what aspects am I gonna like do harm to them? So I don't know. It kind of made me think of like, okay, I guess just every little thing you say and how you could potentially be harmful to somebody.
Yeah, I think that's a really hard, I don't know, I guess line to walk, because we do pull a lot of weight, and especially if parents look at us and think that we're the experts and we know everything. Like, if we were to just suggest something that says that their child was developmentally slow or something like that, all of a sudden they're going to be thinking these horrible things about their child when really you were just trying to say that it could be a possibility, but it's not. I think I don't know how to handle those kinds of situations because you want to inform families and parents, but if you give them too much information, they might get the wrong idea. So what do you guys think? Is it better to give them more information, or is it better to scale back and only give them what you interpret that they need?
I think it's be more specific at once, just because they could mix up the ideas, and then they're thinking, oh, I should have done this, but it was actually something else. That's what I think.
Did anyone else have any ideas on that? Like, would you personally give them more information, or kind of do more what Lauren said, give them specific information, or just give them the very like basics, like the bare minimum? Or what do you think's best?
I would say it depends on the. Oh, go ahead, Shay.
No, you can go.
I was just going to say, I think it depends on their situation, because some people, the basics are already what they're doing, you know? So for some people, having more in-depth information is beneficial, but for others, maybe they just need the basics, and maybe they need to be reminded of the basics. So it's probably just, it depends on the person or the group that you're teaching.
That's what I was gonna say. It's just, I think it depends on the person, because some people might need a more in-depth of the basics, and then some people might just need more on top of the basics. If that makes sense. Like, some people just need the basics explained to them, and so they know how to do those or cope with those, instead of like adding a ton of information. So I thought it was interesting that there was a part in here and it said that the guidelines were actually meant to be educational and sensitizing to those, like the family life educators, rather than to like enforce a legal code of things. But then it's interesting because some of those things in there, like we are held to, like if we do find out abuse or something, like I think we have to report that. Like we're mandated by the law to do that. So it's like, where is that line? Like, what is, like, the law that I have to actually follow and, you know, enforce? And then what are the ones that are just there to help me be sensitive to those around me? I don't know. I feel like the ethics, there's kind of a mix of both in it.
Yeah, because when we were like answering the abuse situation, we weren't really sure, like, are we supposed to or are we not, without interfering, without him pulling the kid and the mother out. But the answer is, yeah, you need to report any kind of abuse no matter what. So the ethics probably should have said, okay, no matter what, if you see abuse, or here or there's a sign or whatever that you should do it. So I don't know. Because like you said, yeah, some of them it's just like a guideline, but others are more you should do it no matter what. I don't know.
I think we have to be aware of what's going on and like what. But so it's kind of like what Shay said. We need to know what the laws are and what we have to follow in order to be ethical. But at the same time, you don't want to jump to any conclusions. And that's what we talked about when we were discussing that case with the possible abuse, is that in that little scenario it gave us, it said that the mother had heard from, or not the mother, you had heard from another mother about this woman's supposed abuse. And only that woman had only seen how the husband was a little bit aggressive and a little bit dominant. We don't know how far that went. And so, like, I think it's important to watch for the signs. And you can ask questions without being too personal and without leading them to think something's going on, because it could be happening, but I think as human beings we want to care and we want to say, oh no, this is going on, I'm going to help, you know, but it's really important to sit back and try to be unbiased about it, despite like what we might hear from other people. That makes sense.
I want to say that that one kind of ties into the whole code of ethics that we had to read too. Is there anything else that anybody wants to add or talk about that we missed?
No.
So if you guys think we're good, I think we could end the meeting and then submit the link and then be good.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. Alrighty, well, thank you for coming and participating. And I'll post the link up, so.
All right, thanks, Shay.
Yep.
Thank you.
I'll see you guys later.